Travel doesn't always make you a better person. I think there's this idea that you travel and you come back changed, which you do, but that doesn't always necessarily mean that you've grown. And hopefully, if you've grown into being a better person. So, here's just a couple bullet points that I wrote down of why I think that travel doesn't always make you a better person. So, the first thing is when you travel really just amplifies who you already are, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't want you to think that anything I say is negative because it's not necessarily the case. Uh, a lot of times you really are who you truly are at heart when you travel because you less work comes with you as a remote worker, which is a curse and a blessing. Generally, when you travel, you don't have the pressures of work and whatever else you may have going on at home. You're free to be who you are. You're around strangers, so you get to act as you truly are, how you truly want to act, because you're not going to see these people again. So there's none of that pressure or that worry. I guess like societal pressures by doing that. But on the flip side of that, being traveling does not always automatically equal being respectful and aware of your actions and cultural differences around you. We like to, or at least I like to think that people do a little bit of their research before they travel and they know some of the cultural norms for where they are going. But that again is not always the case. Sometimes we go places and we're accidentally and unintentionally disrespectful to the culture of the country that we're visiting, or we're simply not aware of it. On the flip side of that, I have definitely seen instances of people while traveling, or I just thought, oh my gosh, I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not 100% certain that I can do that. A couple stories, just real quick. I was in France once, years and years ago, um, and people in front of me at line at the counter didn't speak a lick of French, not a word you could tell, and they were trying to, like, pantomime, and they were just so rude because the person, I'm sure, spoke enough English to understand what they were asking for, but instead they were, like, clucking like a chicken and flapping their arms, and it was just it was embarrassing to watch, and it was just so disrespectful to the person that was in front of them. And this, by the way, this was all before like translate on your phone and stuff. This was 2011, so long, long time ago. Another instant more recently in at the end of 2024, I was in Thailand, and the people who were actually behind me in line ordering from one of the stands at the market, we were ordering, what am I thinking? Like smoothies, and they didn't want any added sugar, and so they communicated that they didn't want added sugar, and I know the people understood them because they understood me, and my Thai is below awful, if there's a level below awful, and, they were just so rude because this lovely couple was making my smoothie, and the disrespectful couple behind me was like, "Oh, no, we don't want added sugar, da, da, da," and I finally I couldn't handle it anymore. I finally turned to them, and I just said, "They understood you. They're making my smoothie, and I didn't modify it." And the tourists were so shocked that I had spoken up, and just the sense of, like, relief and thanks that I saw on the Thai couple's face was just indescribable. I don't think they had anticipated somebody speaking up in their defense, but I could tell that they were so thankful. So, all that to be said, traveling doesn't automatically make you respectful or aware of other cultures, and, I think another part of it is sometimes when we travel, especially if we travel with groups, which is great. I love group travel. There's pros and cons to it, but I do love it. I think it's wonderful, and all that to be said, sometimes that causes you to stay in a bubble, and I think you lose a little bit of the experience, of the cultural experience maybe that way, and getting out of your comfort zone and, learning, and growing from it. So, all that to be said, I think it's a great segue into exposure in other countries and to other cultures does not automatically equal growth or personal growth. That's a whole rabbit hole I think we could go down in a different video, but, all that to be said, it doesn't automatically
equal processing and learning, because part of growth is processing your experiences and learning from them. I think it's also taking time to sit down with the people in the country that you're visiting and getting to know them and their life, which is, of course, part of that is processing because learning is there's processing aspect to learning. And I think in our current society, there's a lot of focus on getting the picture and having that perfect moment and something to share, and it's so glamorous and it's so wonderful, and it's great. I think it's wonderful that people wanna go take photos and have that moment. It's not on it by itself a bad thing to do, but it doesn't automatically equal respect and learning the culture, and experiencing the place that you're in. When you're focused so much on that one perfect photo, that one perfect moment, you miss everything else that comes with travel. And I like to say I've never been there. I'm sure at some point I have been there. I've certainly had moments where um, I've dreamed I've dreamt about it for so long, uh, and the moment comes, and I want that picture so badly, and I'm so focused on it that it is just it's gone like that. It's gone in an instant, and you don't necessarily really remember the whole, the moment. You're not in it because you're not in the moment. You're so focused on say the photography of it, and I mean, the for example of that would be my first time I did 7 continents. It was it was something I had chased for, gosh, I think at least 18 years of my life, and it was a huge moment for me. It was this culmination of a dream that I had had since I was, I don't know, like, probably 13 or younger. I don't even know. I couldn't tell you. I'd have to go back and look, but, um, I was so focused on getting that photo in that moment, and it happened to be in front of the pyramids, and, it was good. It was there and gone in an instant, and I look back and I remember it and I had fun and it was wonderful and I love the photos I got, but I don't think I maybe had that that pause to really stand there and say, "Okay, I'm in front of the pyramid," something that most people, will probably never get to do in their lives, and I may or may not ever get to do in my life. But, um, all that to be said, I love my time in Egypt and, I love my time at the pyramids. I got to see so much, but, it was a moment that was definitely more focused on the photo than the culture and the history of the place. So all that to be said, growth. Woo, I'm doing great. Growth. To have growth, you need to have reflection and processing and the learning all involved in that. So I don't think, um, without the exposure, how do I say this? The exposure to other countries, and culture doesn't automatically equal growth. So, and without that, you're not necessarily going to end up being better for your travel experiences. Um, and talking about the photos and the social aspect of social media aspect of travel these days, I think it can really reinforce the ego, which again is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think it puts us in this position where country counting has become like this badge, this huge thing. I mean, like, for God's sake, put it on your resume. People are like that into it. Yes, I count my countries. I have done that since the beginning. I've been traveling internationally overseas for 20 years. That was long before social media and this whole movement. I don't announce it. Most people that I meet or that know me probably had absolutely zero clue how many countries I've been to, and the fact that I've gone to all 7 continents twice, the second time within 1 year, they probably have no idea, and if they do, they've forgotten it. It's not how I introduce myself to people. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to to do that, to count countries, but I don't think it necessarily helps either. There's a way to handle that, in a more I guess in a more adult manner, so to speak. But, I think it can also, people can have competing stories and, it just doesn't necessarily feed into a good thing. So yeah, traveling, in a way it can reinforce the ego if you're not super aware of that, and of course aware of how that, your stories, your country count, all of that stuff is received as well. Um, so all that is said, last but not least, most of us, guilty as charged, we travel for escape, not necessarily the evolution. We don't all travel for the eat, pray, love. If you do, that's wonderful. I think we've also all had those, moments, at least bite-sized moments of eat, pray, love. I know for me, um, I've traveled for so many different reasons, I've had travel aligned with so many different life events that I am eternally grateful for. I've had times where, yes, I was running away from my life. I was running away from what was happening at home. I was running away from the pain of that, the stress of that, the burnout of that. And fortunately, at the time, I was aware that's what I was doing. And I think because of that, I was able to grow from it. And there was an evolution, in my life and closing chapters, turning pages. But if you're not aware of that, and you're just running away because you can run away, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not always the best idea. And especially in this connected world, your troubles are gonna come right along with you. You can run to the ends of the earth, and it doesn't change the fact that you are still going through a breakup or a job loss or burnout or whatever else it may be that's going on in your life. It's not to belittle what goes on in life. It's not to belittle people who do mean to um, run away from what's going on, or maybe, travel is like the balm to the pain that you're feeling, and it helps to numb that pain. Um, I do think it's perhaps a healthier choice than some other options that people choose, but, um, it doesn't necessarily make things better. It doesn't necessarily evolve who you are and how you're handling it, but I do think it can certainly provide some clarity. So again, it's not all bad. Um, I think there is definitely a clarity to be gained from travel and being away, just from everything. But all that to be said, uh, you got to be aware of it. You've got to put the work in, and going back to the beginning here, you've got to be able to do the processing and the learning and the reflection in order to gain the growth. So, um, all that to be said, I will get off my soapbox. I'll stop jabbering at you. I've said it 100 times. I feel like now, but I'll say it again. I'm always excited to have you guys here. I'm excited to be seeing where this is going, doing these videos. I've got a lot of stuff that I'm working on in the background, which I said 100 times, I feel like, but, I've got some clarity on some things, and I'm gonna focus on, and really build this year for 2026. So I'm looking forward to that. Drop links in the comments, to the blog, which is a little bit of a hiatus at the moment, but we're getting back to it, and, also the newsletter, which is going through a revamp. So, as always, super excited, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.